Hello and welcome to the workshop at the Concord Free Public Library. My name is Christy and I'm here today to show you how to safely operate the workshop's Burnett B70 Deco embroidery machine. Let's start with the safety notes. We strongly recommend that makers are confident, experienced users of regular sewing machines before they attempt to use our embroidery machine. Our embroidery machine is one of the most complicated tools in our space, so in addition to watching this video, you'll need to be comfortable consulting the complete B70 Deco manual before and throughout your visit. You can download the manual on our website at cfpl.info/embroidery manual. The needle on this machine is very sharp and can break if it becomes bent by you or by someone who used the machine before you. To prevent injury, be sure to keep your fingers clear of the needle mechanism. The wearing of eyeglasses or safety glasses is not required for the use of this tool, but it is strongly recommended in case of a needle break. This tool has moving parts that may catch on loose objects or materials. Before using it, be sure to tie back long hair and remove any loose jewelry and accessories whenever possible. If the needle does break or the machine jams beyond what you can easily untangle with a pair of thread snips, stop working and notify staff immediately. The machine will not be safe to use until it is serviced by one of our technicians. In case of any injury, call 911 immediately and notify staff. A first aid kit is also available at the workshop's front desk. And a quick reminder, this is an expert maker's tool, which means each and every maker operating the machine will need to complete a safety waiver before use. Minors under the age of 18 will need a parent or guardian to help them complete this form, which you can fill out entirely online at cfpl.info/waiver. Additionally, makers under the age of 10 must be accompanied by another maker at least 13 years of age. Now let's take a look at materials. All makers are welcome to take fabric, thread, and other materials from our swap boxes. But if you use the machine regularly or for a large project, we ask all makers to help us keep the workshop free and accessible to everyone by either bringing your own materials from home or donating to help cover the cost of materials. About $8 per spool of thread and about $15 per yard of fabric. In addition to fabric and thread, embroidery machine projects require fabric stabilizer to maintain the shape of the fabric as it's stitched. You're welcome to use some of the workshop's tearaway stabilizer, or you can purchase any brand tearaway, adhesive, iron-on, or water-soluble stabilizer you prefer. For best results, review the manual's recommendations for the best stabilizer for your fabric. The basic needle and presser foot on the machine are good for most embroidery on regular weight fabrics like quilting cotton. But if you're working with heavier or lighter weight fabrics like denim or tulle, you'll need to consult the full manual to determine the correct presser foot and needle for your project and follow the directions to change them. One needle costs the library around $5 and must be replaced after every Okay, let's get making. Start by plugging the power cable into the port on the right-hand side of the embroidery machine, then into the wall. Unlike a sewing machine, our embroidery machine doesn't require a foot control. Turn the machine on with the switch beside the power cable on the right-hand side of the machine. Open the lid at the top of the machine and take the black stylus out of its clip. This will make the touchscreen much easier to navigate. A picture message should appear notifying you that the machine is calibrated. Press the check mark to dismiss it. Our embroidery machine comes with a variety of preset alphabets and designs you can browse via the touchscreen. If needed, press the home button to return to the top level of the folders. You can also download or purchase additional embroidery designs, including custom designs, online on websites like Oklahoma Embroidery Supply and Design or Etsy. Just be sure they're in Bernina EXP format or another compatible embroidery format. Regular bitmap and vector files are not compatible with the machine. You can load your designs via flash drive using the USB port on the right-hand side of the machine. Once you've found a design you like, tap it to add it to your layout. If you add multiple designs to the same layout, they will be layered on top of each other as represented by the diagram on the right side of the preview. Be very careful when layering designs. Layering embroidery stitches too densely may jam or damage the machine as well as your project. You can edit the placement, scale, and rotation of each layer of your layout by selecting it from the diagram, then pressing the information icon at the top of the screen. You can also delete a layer by selecting the trash can from this menu. While we're here, it's important to note that due to the way embroidery designs are coded, you'll only be able to scale most designs a few percentage points larger or smaller than their defaults. This is pretty different from the way our other machines work, so keep it in mind as you plan your projects. Many embroidery designs are broken into 2 or more steps to allow you to create a multicolor embroidery. To see if your design has multiple steps, tap the palette icon on the right-hand side of the screen. The machine will list each step and its estimated stitch time in order on the right-hand side of the machine. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see a highlighted preview of the selected step. In this flower design, the machine will first stitch a background mesh pattern, which will take about 2 minutes. Then it will stitch the flower itself, which will take about 42 minutes. If I wanted, I could choose to use one color of thread for the background pattern and another one for the flower. To preview what color combinations might look like, tap the swap icon beside the step that you'd like to change. The thread palettes here are meant to match common brands of embroidery thread, but they are for preview purposes only. They don't affect any part of the actual operation of the machine. That being said, if you're stitching a multicolor design, especially one with several steps, setting your colors can be a helpful reminder to you to remember to load the correct thread during each step. In this video, I'll be stitching this design all in one color of green thread. Next, it's time to thread the machine. Just like a regular sewing machine, the embroidery machine uses a top thread and a bobbin thread, and for the most part, the threading process will be very similar. Unlike winding a bobbin for a sewing machine, we recommend using a different color of thread for your bobbin than for your top thread or threads. Ideally a neutral or a close match to your background fabric. This is because if your embroidery is successful, your bobbin thread should only be visible on the back side of the finished piece. Using mismatched threads will allow you to catch any problems earlier in the process, before you've wasted lots of thread, fabric, and time. In addition to the instructions in this video and the user manual, you can also view step-by-step threading instructions directly on the touchscreen at any time by tapping the book icon on the far right side of the screen. Drag your stylus up and down on the screen to scroll through the steps and diagrams. Let's start by winding the bobbin thread. In this video, I'll be using white thread as my bobbin thread. To get started, slide a standard spool of thread onto the spool pin at the top of the machine so that it unspools towards you. You can use a spool cap to help keep it in place. Next, slip the thread into the thread guide, then wrap the thread clockwise around the bobbin tension disc and back towards the right side of the machine. Grab an empty bobbin and thread it by feeding the thread through one of the holes in the bobbin from the inside to the outside. Place the bobbin on the small metal spindle on the right side of the machine so that the loose thread faces up towards you. Push the spindle to the right so that it sets into place, then hold the loose end of thread up away from the mechanism. Press the Start/Stop button on the front of the machine to begin winding the bobbin. Let the bobbin spin until a few layers of thread have formed, then press the button again to stop the bobbin. Trim the excess thread, press the Stop/Start again, and this time let it spin until the bobbin is completely full. You can increase or decrease the speed at which the machine winds the bobbin by using the speed control slider on the front of the machine. When the bobbin is full, press the Start/Stop button to stop it, slide the bobbin spindle back to the left, trim the thread, and remove the filled bobbin. Next, we can thread the bobbin into the machine. If necessary, press the Raise Lower Foot button on the front of the machine to make sure the presser foot is raised out of your way. On the plate below the needle, slide the black plastic switch to the right to release the clear plastic bobbin cover and put it to the side. If an old bobbin is still in the machine, remove it, then place your bobbin into the slot so that it unwinds counterclockwise. Hook the bobbin thread around the front black plastic notch, then draw it to the left and guide it through the channel, following the printed arrows. Gently tug the thread against the end of the channel to trim it, then replace the plastic bobbin cover. Unlike a regular sewing machine, we don't need to pull the bobbin thread up to the top side of the stitch plate. Now it's time to load the top thread for your design. If you're embroidering a multicolor design, you'll want to load the color of thread that you'd like the first step of your design to be. Once again, load your thread into the spool pin at the top of the machine so that it unspools towards you, using a spool cap to help keep it in place. Next, slip the thread into the thread guide, but this time, hook the thread around the top of the upper thread guide and pull it down towards you through the right side slot in the front of the machine. Hook the thread back up the left side slot, around the thread take-up lever so that it catches, then back down the left side slot one more time toward the needle. Now hook the thread under the lower thread guide at the top of the needle. If necessary, press the Raise Lower button to lower the presser foot out of your way. Now you can either hand thread the needle from front to back, or you can pull down the needle threader using the white tab to the left of the needle. Run the thread under the plastic hooks on the threader from left to right, then push the threader back up into the machine to pull the thread through the needle. Use your fingers to tug the thread the whole way through to the back of the machine. We're almost there. It's time to prepare and load your fabric into the machine. If you have any experience with hand embroidery hoops, be sure to pay extra attention to these steps as they may be counterintuitive. Remove the indicated hoop from its plastic envelope and set aside the translucent alignment guide. When oriented correctly, the machine clip should be on the left-hand side of the hoop, the release clamp should be on the bottom right corner, and you should be able to see two small gray alignment arrows at the bottom of both the inner and outer hoops. Cut a piece of stabilizer at least a few inches longer and wider than the hoop, and follow the manufacturer's instructions to apply the stabilizer to your fabric if necessary. If you're using the workshop's tearaway stabilizer, simply stack your fabric on top of the stabilizer with the right side of your fabric facing up towards you. Undo the release clamp on the embroidery hoop and remove the inner hoop. Lay your fabric and stabilizer over the outer hoop, then replace the inner hoop so your fabric is held flat against the table. Gently tug the fabric and stabilizer until it's taut but not stretched. If you're able, take a look at the weave of your fabric. It should remain in straight perpendicular lines. If any of the lines look wavy, you may have over or under stretched your fabric. Close the release clamp, you may need to loosen the screw to do so, and adjust the screw as needed for a snug fit. On the machine touchscreen, navigate to the layout view and press the stitching button at the bottom right corner of the screen. Once again, a picture message should notify you that the machine is calibrated. Press the check mark to dismiss it. A new picture message will appear letting you know it's time to load the embroidery hoop. If necessary, press the raise lower button to ensure the presser foot is fully raised out of your way. Slide the embroidery hoop face up into the coupling on the embroidery arm until it clicks into place. The machine should automatically adjust the placement of the hoop. Press and hold the start-stop button on the front of the machine. The machine will perform a few stitches, then pause for you to trim the excess top thread from the start of your embroidery. When you've done so, press and hold the start-stop button again to resume. Just like a standard sewing machine, you can adjust the embroidery speed using the speed control slider on the front of the machine. Now it's time for the fun part. Just watch the embroidery machine do its thing. Our embroidery machine has some error detection capabilities to help reduce thread and fabric waste, but it's important to actively monitor the machine throughout the entire embroidery process. If the machine detects an error, like running out of thread, it will pause the embroidery and an error message will appear on the touchscreen. If you notice a problem, you can also pause the embroidery at any time by pressing the Start/Stop button. Be sure to refer to the manual for complete troubleshooting instructions. If you chose a design with multiple colors, the machine will automatically stop and trim the thread between steps to allow you to change the thread color. Without removing the embroidery hoop, simply change the top thread according to the directions earlier in this video, then press and hold the Start/Stop button again to resume your embroidery. Once your embroidery is complete, just press the release lever on the side of the embroidery arm and pull the embroidery hoop free from the machine. Don't forget to return all of the pieces of the embroidery hoop to its envelope and the touchscreen stylus to its clip at the top of the machine before shutting down and returning the power cable to the front desk. Congratulations, you're now an expert maker. If you want to learn more about everything our embroidery machine can do, you can find the complete manual on our website at cfpl.info/embroidery manual, or visit burnett.com for more information and tutorials direct from the manufacturer. The workshop is made possible by the generous support of the Concord Free Public Library Corporation, a nonprofit organization supported by makers like you. Learn more about all the corporation does to make our library awesome and how you can help at cfplcorp.org. And if you can't get enough making, be sure to check out the workshop's full library of maker tools at cfpl.info/workshop. Bye-bye.